Yeah, I'm Jackson. I have zero experience with carpentry.
I studied at a school for historic preservation in Boston and learned about how things were built, 250 years ago.
There's a long way to go. I'm nowhere near the top. Not that I thought I was, but there's so much more to do out there.
All right. Welcome back to the Passion for Craft podcast. And boy, passion is the word of the day today. I just flew in from Denver and...
boy, are my arms tired.
Yeah, boy, are my arms tired. No, I flew in on a plane and I just heard a whole video explaining the context of that joke. It's a great joke. But it's now like common. Hey, I could nerd out over comedy.
Please don't.
I won't. So I walked in here and Austin, our producer, Richard, were talking about this video that Brent made the other day on Matt Reisinger's channel. Shout out to the Build Show. And
New House, Old Soul.
Yes, that's the name of the new series.
It's a series.
New House,
it's going to be on the Build Show.
On the Build Show.
And it debuted on Matt's YouTube
channel. But Richard and Austin were talking about the comments on this channel, and they were like, "Wow, I didn't agree with a lot of the things. A lot of people were saying a lot of different stuff." And so as they were talking about it, they were getting really fired up about it. And I'm like, haven't seen this video, so we just watched a good clips of it. Saw probably 13 minutes out of the 20-minute video. Really well done. So shout out to you, Austin. Well done. And Brent.
Very well done, Austin.
Great information. Love the way you nerded out. With the way they were talking about the comments, just first things first, we're going to react to this video. And we're just going to kind of share our thoughts on what it is. If you have not
this
seen
gets
it,
to the heart of why we're doing this freaking podcast.
This gets
in my mind
to the heart of Brindle.
This is what is wrong with building.
And it's actually a lot right with building, which is interesting. I was fascinated at how many people, how many of you guys were like, I can't believe all the negative comments. And I'm probably misrepresenting you guys a little bit, but and we could probably cut to a clip of me reading the comments before we started the episode. But I was trying to count how many positive comments there were versus how many negative comments there were. And surprisingly, I didn't finish counting, but there were 31 that I counted, and I've got to maybe halfway, 31 positive comments on this video, and then I counted 4 negative comments that were maybe not negative, but just not saying, wow, this is a great series, which is impressive. That's an impressive number of people being like
15%.
Let's check this out. Okay, math guy. But a couple of the things that we want to do in this video today. We want to talk about what the video was. We'll share with you guys what it is. Just a premise of it, but mainly we want you guys to go check it out on Matt's channel because it's a great video. So we're going to talk about that and we're going to address the comments. Those are the two things that we're going to do. But we want you guys to check it out. We'll give you a brief summary. Brent, will you give us a brief summary of what the video is about?
So if you guys go on the Build Show or watch the Build Show, it's basically Matt Reisinger started the Build Show because YouTube he had more opportunities starting his own channel. He invited me and 3 other people to join the channel: Steve Basic, Jake Bruton, Wade Paquin, myself. And now there are electricians, plumbers. We've had Eric Ani on here and Lydia. And so it's a whole team of people. They wanted, I'm a little bit of an odd bird on that thing because mostly it's about build science, okay? At least the build guys are. And I am a preservation guy. I'm a historic preservation is my background. So they said, why don't you do a series that is about your houses and the way you build? They came up with that name, New House, Old Soul, because a lot of the houses that we build, we are, building houses so that they look like they're 100 years old the day we're finished. And so that's kind of the premise to the deal. It's 14 episodes, I think, and we're talking about foundations, and we'll explain, hey, here's how foundations were done. Here's the history of foundations. Here's how we do foundations today to make it look old. Timber framing, talk about timber framing, balloon framing, regular framing, how it contributes to the story of a house. So that's the premise, New House, Old Soul. and how we do this. So this was the introduction, right? This was when we went to one of our projects we did finish 4 or 5 years ago in Texas, and we call it the Pennsylvania Farmhouse, because it was inspired by, the client fell in love with this Pennsylvania farmhouse. They had the architecture firm Heritage Studios do the plans, and then we stepped in and started dialing in all of the different parts and pieces of the house so that it looked historic. That is where we started getting funny comments.
Yeah, so I mean, these comments are hilarious. First and foremost, man, the keyboard jockeys behind here that are just owning this are hilarious. I don't know how else to say it. It's kind of fun reading these comments now and just knowing you. He's like Teflon, just rolls right off. So it takes a lot to give constructive criticism or hurt his feelings. But the comments are hilarious. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, first comment. Consider talking 80% less. This is too much fire hydrant info. So
80% less.
80% less would just be like, what does he want, a drone house tour? Like,
well, that's what I was going to say. It's like, what do you want? Just raw footage? He's trying to teach you about why he did the things he did.
Look, at the end of the day,
it's a lesson.
I understand, like, he wants like to like let it soak and sit in and whatever, but at the end of the day, it's like it's just ever watching 13 minutes of a 20-minute video. It was necessary.
The problem the problem is there's so much to share.
Yeah.
Right. There's so many things, and I sit there and watch it a second time when we were sitting going through it, and I keep saying detail. I really need to break down what that detail is. I really need to explain what. And so he thinks I didn't talk too much. I'm saying I didn't put enough in.
Well, I'm sure y'all probably cut a lot too.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
It's probably a lot of footage.
Austin's the master there.
Yeah, Austin's great with all of that. Austin also produces this podcast. He's incredible. So, shout out to Ocular Pop. Yeah, there we go. He cuts that out. Watch. No, you mind cutting that, Austin?
If you have a wedding,
does it?
He's available.
He's incredible. Okay, so the comment that replied to that comment, I'm just going bottom up. We're just going to keep rolling. Comment to that one says, but he's got to tell us how he fought for everything, ... like 80 times. Why is he fighting? Someone pays gobs of cash for someone who makes the stuff. What fight? So this is actually a comment that you get a ton in this video.
Why are you fighting?
That was actually what Richard and Austin were talking about at the beginning. Is they were pissed off that you were using the word fight.
Well, first of all, fight is not a bad word. They're acting like
it's a 5-letter word. Watch out.
Like fight is like you're in pre-K and like someone said fight. I got it right away. Like what he's saying is like what I interpret it, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're fighting for something, you mentioned in the video, look, we got this detail going up the stairs of these wood boards, and they're, not something you buy off the shelf at Home Depot. So we had to fight, meaning we're going to go source this lumber, maybe even mill it. That's the fight versus buying something off the shelf. Mm-hmm. That's one aspect of it.
I'll defend the fight people out there. He said it 5 times. And he said 3 of those in like a short period of time. So I think there was like a time where you said it a bunch, and then people kind of like I do this when I'm commenting on YouTube videos where I comment mid-video. And so I think they're probably commenting like really quick. They're like, "Oh, I want to fight. This is a funny thing to say." Like you said, fight. But I do think you've got. I mean, he's about. Watch out. I think we just set off a time bomb. Because tell us why are you fighting, Brent?
Here's the deal. Let me explain.
Let me sum up. That's
a Princess Bride quote. Okay, so I'm consulting with this lady in the Makerista in Kansas City. Helped her build her house, and she would call me all the time. She's like, the stair guys say we can't build that stair, and she wanted to do an historic stair just like we did right there. She says the stair guys say we can't build those. I said they're lying. She goes. Then she called me back. She goes, the code guy said we can't build that stairs. Who? What code guy? Well, he says it wasn't really the code guy. It was really an electrician. He goes, why is the electrician telling you how high the stairs should be? Well, he just said there's no way they're going to let me pass that stair. Call me later. The stairs said, I mean, it became a fight because I had to say, no, that's not true. No, he doesn't know what he's talking about. No, this is actually true. Here's what's actually going to happen. Here's what's going to do. Walking her through this thing.
Yeah.
And here's what happens is.
So you're saying that happened on this job.
Not this job.
On other jobs.
I'm giving an example of why I say fight, because I was explaining to her, you've got to fight for beauty. You've got to fight for these quality, historic details that you want in your house. They're going to make it special. You've got to fight because no one's going to want to put them in for you. And they're all going, well, I don't do that. Well, I've never done that before. Or that's not what we did at the last house. And so it's just
Pause. Help us understand. Help us understand, because you're starting to take off, and I love that we're taking flight now. But gonna fly now like Rocky. But so you're saying you've got to fight for these details. Help us understand what you mean by that, because you're saying you have pre-planned, so you've made the plans for the house, and you're like, this is what's going to be beautiful. So you confer with the homeowner or the person who's building the home. Is this correct?
Well,
like, help me understand the process.
Only a little bit.
As I'm not day in and day out in the home building process, I don't understand.
I was going to say, I feel like some of the people on these comments were saying, like they thought you were fighting with the homeowner.
Oh, really?
You know, that's how I thought. Like, homeowners paying you all this, and you're fighting with them.
Yeah.
About
So
it? Like,
that one comment said, "Why is he fighting? You have someone who pays you gobs of cash."
Okay, but here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's why you're fighting.
So help understand what the fighting process is.
The stairs that you can get for your house today.
Okay.
Okay. You want stairs in your house. Let's just say. Okay. There's not a stair store, okay? And if you type into Google stairs, okay, stairs.com is going to come up.
Yeah.
And they're going to show you a wood stair. Okay. It is the exact same design. It's been for 80 years.
Yeah.
I have those exact same design going back to the 1920s, 30s, and 30s, 40s. The exact same nosing, the exact same handrail, the exact same balusters have been around for 80 years. Okay. So if you want something like we did, how do you get that?
And help us understand what did you do there that is different?
I'm explaining that.
You haven't explained. You're saying if you want something that we did that's different, you have to. So what did you do that's different?
If you just watched the video, you weren't listening. Okay, because the newel there is actually taken from an historic pattern book from the 1890s.
Yeah.
And we used the inspiration from the past, the inspiration of a historic newel, to come up with that design. Okay. Then we had our craftsmen turn the newel. Okay. That means they put it on a lathe and they took their little knife and they ran it back and forth and they made a design, Jackson.
Hey, I'm on your team. So we've got audience members that are going to be watching this video.
The balustrade too, okay? That handrail is different than any other handrail that you can find in any catalog today. Why? Because we copied the past. Mm-hmm. We went to the past and we said, well, this shape of handrail isn't available. How are we going to do that? And we figured out how to do that.
Because same with Home Depot and all the other department stores, they don't have
it is like the CNC molding today. There's a library of parts, and you can have that library. Well, that library is 8 items, okay? And historically, if you look at the universe of items that are available for a stair over time, it's thousands.
Like looking at old historic pattern books, like across the board.
At historic houses for inspiration, that you look at the past and go, oh my gosh, I'd like to do that, looking at the past.
There start to be more options that unfold.
Thousands of options.
Mm-hmm.
And
so we go from 8 to 1,000.
And you have people telling you can't do that. Mm-hmm. And so I'm saying you've got to fight for these products and these things if you want your house to be special.
Right.
If you want your house to be unique, because everybody's going to come along. The trim carpenter's going to come along. I mean, Richard, you before we knew you wouldn't have known to put all these other moldings in a house, didn't know that was even an option. And so he comes along, or the trim carpenter comes along and says, well, that's not available, or you can't do that. And you have builders that say, you can't do that. Why? Well, it's going to be too expensive. Don't tell me how to spend my money. This is what I want.
Yeah.
So the fight that I'm describing in there, and I'm not fighting with the homeowners. I'm fighting for them.
Yeah,
right? I'm not fighting against them. I'm fighting against the cabinet guy who says, well, I don't do inset doors. Okay, well, what would it take to get you to do inset doors?
Right.
Well, and I've had these conversations, and they say, well, I can't warranty it. Okay, fine. no warranty. Will you do the cabinets now with these inset doors? Well, yeah, but I'm going to have to charge extra. I know.
I was kind of expecting
I'm
that.
kind of expecting that. Okay, what's your objection now? Well, it's going to take a little longer. I expected that as well.
Yeah.
And so all the reasons he was saying no,
Yeah.
those aren't objections for me, right?
Right.
But I have to walk him through that conversation so that he opens up his mind and goes, God, this guy's going to let me do something special and different here.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to do something I've never done before.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when we go to jobs. And I told the story in the past about the stairs. I went to that client's house and I showed up with the stairs and the guy's like, I don't know how to put these stairs in.
Yeah.
And we ended up taking them back to him, showing them the historic pictures, showing them how they were made, walking them through how you do a closed skirt and everything else. And he finished that job. And he goes, I want more.
Yeah.
I want to do more of this stuff. This is incredible. Oh my gosh. And from him being at that point where he was like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
To him going, I want more.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity. That's what fighting does. And the incredible joy of building beautiful things.
You had a similar experience.
Yeah, when I was thinking while you were saying that, it's like a lot of the tradesmen are on cruise control, where we got
That's
our
a great
system, we got our materials, we got the way we do it, and when you throw a wrench into their gears, they want to fight you and say like, no, we don't do it like that.
I don't know where to get that. I've never done that before. We're not used to doing that. And they say these things out
Right.
loud, and you're like, okay, here we go.
They're just putting
Work it
up
through.
roadblocks,
Yeah.
They're just putting up roadblocks
Well,
that you
they're
got to
just
fight
saying,
down.
I would rather not do the extra work. So I'm going to tell you I can't do that.
They
and then
think
it's-
they don't want to do the extra work.
Right.
When they finish it, they're usually pretty pleased with themselves.
in the experience you've had some
Yes,
cool.
and then it becomes part of their portfolio,
Yeah.
right? Then the mantle
Yeah.
that they just built that you encouraged them to build, or the
Yeah.
stairs, is one of the first things they show to new clients. Hey,
Yeah.
look what I can do.
Yeah.
It's not just the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Well, it makes me think of the drops you do on our Passion for Craft page. Like you're
Yeah.
dropping these library inserts of all this stuff that is no longer available.
Right.
Where are you finding it? In your library. How are you creating it? Through custom millwork. If you want something unique and custom, that's how it's going to be.
Well,
done.
and going to North Bennett Street,
Yeah.
we made everything. If you needed a molding that looked like that from 1820, you made it, right?
You figure out how to make a molding that.
So it was immediately the mindset of, well, we need to go make that. It wasn't, well, that's not available anymore. It was, let's go make it.
Yeah.
And so that conditioned me to come into the modern world and go, well, we better go make that. And that's not a mindset that a lot of people have today.
yeah, it's
But
the opposite.
It's almost
mindset.
the opposite. Yeah,
when you
that's not available.
When you have that mindset, you actually get to start to create things that are unique and that are special. And so that's another thing that we were talking about earlier today. One of the things that I think we need to amend our state of craft statement that's out there right now. But one of the ways that we've been looking at it is we are like the old guild system. But the way that the old guild system worked is patrons of the arts would hire those guildsmen to go out and build something special or paint something special or do something special that was commissioned by them. And so if you think about it like that and you start to understand a little bit more why what y'all are doing is so special, because what you are doing is you're talking with a client and you're working together with them to say, hey, we want to build you a home that's special, that's unique, that's beautiful, and in this case communicates a story. So how can we make that happen?
And that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
Because I know some of the comments are like, talking about financials, but here's what you need to understand is that not everybody is like in the same financial boat as you. So if they're willing to spend money on this, that's their right to spend the money on
Right.
it.
Well, and
Like,
we get to enjoy, because I'm not financially in a position to build this house, which is
Right.
great. But I get to now enjoy this video where I get to see all these really cool features that have been put into a house, and now also know like, hey, that's possible.
Yeah.
Like that's now out there in the world, and someone can do that. That's exciting. So is that it's a guild system, right? We are commissioned by the homeowners to then go out. I'm saying
that's not really the point.
well, no. But it matters to help people understand that, Because what's going on, the disconnect that you're getting in these comments that people aren't understanding is that people are paying money for you to go build a house, but then you are taking what people want you to build, and then you're
not listening. Listen.
I'm listening.
Here's the deal. People look at the work that we do and they're like, who can even do that? Right? And they get so wound up in this money that's being spent, okay? And yet those people, I believe, also want to do really great work, okay? And they are the ones talking themselves out of the jobs because they're like, well, people can't afford that, or no one's going to spend that. Not with that attitude, okay? You have that attitude, you'll never work for this client, okay? And there are people out there that money is not the object, okay? Money's not the hurdle that's going to keep them from doing anything. Opportunity is the thing that's going to keep them, is the thing that they're looking for. This client, our clients want unique, different, historic, traditional stuff, and no one can do it, right? Unless you've been trained and stuff like that. So I understand that he's saying that, but I'm saying that he's not even understanding what he's saying and how he's tripping himself up to an opportunity he has to do better work. And it's just like, if he would just let go of that attitude that no one does this, I can't believe how much money they're spending, what a waste. Okay, you'll never work for this client with that attitude, right?
Totally.
You just stop and just go, because I feel like our work, and I don't mean this to sound arrogant, but I look at our work, like I go to Europe and I get inspired because I'm looking at the stuff that they did in the past and like, oh my gosh, look at that, right? I hope our stuff inspires other people to go, wow, I didn't know you could still do that today, right? And so anyway, that's why we're doing this.
Totally. Well, I was talking about the fight situation, explaining to the people who are confused about the word fight. Not the money people, but the money, because the money people, I agree with you. What you're saying, like, they're limiting themselves on that. And we'll get into a couple more comments on that. But a lot of the pushback seems to be on the word fight that you're using.
Yeah, no.
And I'm thinking they're misunderstanding that the
not
fight
fight,
ends up being between you're getting communicated by your patron, right? The person who's willing to spend the money on the job. And then you are now going and taking that to the subs and to the people who are going to be building the jobs. And that's who you're engaging in the fight with. Because it ends up feeling like a fight.
And I don't feel like that argument that I'm having with that cabinet guy is not a fight, right?
No.
It's not. It is a.
Fight is a weird word because
it's
you're
me
not
walking
like,
beside him and helping him get through those hurdles that he's normally putting up, that normally stop the conversation. I'm letting him finish those, but I am fighting for the client.
And you're pushing. I guess push might be a better word. You're like pushing back against the nose. And so it feels like a fight. It feels like you're overcoming hurdles with every person who's pushing back. But there's confusion on the word fight. That's where. Okay, so the next comment.
So you would ultimately summarize your use of the word fight as I'm fighting for the client, not with anybody really, just like for details.
Yeah, it is a obstacle, okay, that you have to overcome because. Each one of these conversations, each one of these things with moldings, with fireplaces, with code, with, just problem solving, how this house is going to work, how we get stone how did we get the stone to look like that?
Yeah.
You got it from Pennsylvania.
We had to get it from Pennsylvania.
Which is a fight in and of itself.
And so how do you do that? How do you do that? I call the local yards. Yeah, we don't have that. I'm sitting there going, okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to call a stone yard in Pennsylvania. So I'm Googling, stone yards, Philadelphia, or stone yards, Bucks County.
And then they're like, we don't deliver. You're like, okay, can I send a truck up there?
Exactly. Yeah. And so, but you're thinking outside the box, and that's a hurdle. That's an obstacle that you're overcoming, right? It's not a fight, but I use the word fight with the makerista.
I love the word fight
because I think ultimately it is a battle for quality.
Yeah. Well, and I think people are confused about the process, which is why I think it's helpful to understand the process so that they understand how it's a fight.
No, I agree with that.
I would even say I fight myself. Like working on my own house, I'm like, I could really just get this done now and like quick and easy, but no, I got to fight for this.
That's a big fight.
This is going to take a lot more time.
That's a big fight.
Yeah.
You're fighting yourself essentially for quality.
Yeah.
even though it's going to take more time, even though it's going to be more
And
expensive
beauty,
potentially.
and
Quality
you're
equals
better.
beauty equals
Yeah.
equals a great end product, something that you're proud of, right?
Life is a fight. Don't be such a baby. I'm serious.
It is true.
No, but it's funny telling a lot
struggle.
of these commenters, "Hey, don't be such a baby." He's fighting for this. Okay, your next comment. You ready for this one? This one's good. At 1405, you're fighting, air quotes, for architectural details. Really? Your work is excellent, but the canned ceiling lights are an abomination. They must go the way of acid wash jeans. Any architect that uses canned lighting in a home shows that they don't know how to control light. Canned lights litter the ceiling with glaring light, and they are a lazy solution to illuminating space.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Some things are out of your control.
Okay.
The pool at that house was out of my control, right? The can lights, how are we going to do this? Well, we really don't want can lights because that's something I say all the time.
Yeah.
Well, no, I need can lights.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can do it with lamps. We can do it with, we can do these other things.
Right.
No, I don't want a can. Okay.
And ultimately,
Yeah, it's your house.
Yes.
You're
But
going to get cans.
and that's the person you're fighting for, right? Is
Right,
the homeowner.
totally right.
And so,
Is it, so
but there is a balance. It's something we've talked about before. Is the
sure.
balance between educating the homeowner versus not. And you've done your part where you've been, hey, this is what historic precedent.
this is
how-
what it looked like,
Yeah.
and then they say no. And you go okay.
And he's going to enjoy the episode on electricity.
Yes, he is exactly.
Wait, shout out to the future episodes.
Yeah, when we do electricity, we talk about cans and how they're terrible, and we're going to look back at them in the past. We're going to look back at them in 20 years because no one's going to use any cans, and we're going to go, "What were we thinking?" Literally.
Amazing. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Craftsmanship and old style trim, great. Designing your house to mimic the historical quirks of some houses, definitely not for me. Better to make your own history than copy someone else's.
I don't even know what to say to that.
You're a big history guy. Can you explain to this person why it is good to copy this historical precedent versus making up your own historical precedent? I mean, we could show them some of the episodes. Next week's episode is going to have, potentially next week's episode, it's going to have a lot of
Well, here,
McMansions.
what were you going to say?
I was gonna say, if you're copying our history, you're building McMansions. Yeah.
I agree. I mean, there is no such thing as creating your own style. Okay, you think about how a style starts. Okay, that's a style starts because there is local materials, local precedent, local climate changes. You think about a Cotswold cottage. Okay, how does that come about? The stone is a local stone. It comes out of the ground. The pitches the roof of the
pitch of the roof.
of the roofs have to be steep because of snow loads, right? And so you automatically have the cladding on the outside and the roof pitch because of local conditions.
Mm-hmm.
The windows are small because glass is expensive and people can't afford glass.
Yeah.
And so the windows are small, right? And so that style is invented, okay, because of local conditions. This turkey, you can't go invent your own style. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
There's no such thing. There's no way you can go invent your own style.
Right.
How are you going to do that?
What you just explained is like the necessity is the mother of invention. Like that
Totally.
style became that way because that's what was needed.
Yeah.
And that's what those houses have lasted for centuries, right? Because of the way they're built. And so we now look back at them and go, well, that's a pretty good way
Why
to build.
did that one last longer than the flat roofed house next door?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good way to build because that's been around for 3 centuries. Oh, yeah, right? And nobody can design anything in a vacuum, right? No one can go, I've got a great idea, and it not be built on the shoulders of other people behind them.
Absolutely.
And so you can't do it.
Even take Frank Lloyd Wright, the great inventor of like all the concrete overhangs. What are they called?
Cantilevers. And all that.
Cantilever. Thank you. Even he, in that great overhanging house with all the dilapidated overhangs, was modeling the rocks that were overhanging the waterfalls.
Nature
there.
was his inspiration.
Nature was his
Yeah.
inspiration.
So
Stop copying
and
nature.
And if you look
Make your own
at
style.
you look at art, right? If you look at I thought you were going to say the Frank Orville Wright, right? They're not the first one. They didn't think. I wonder if we built something that could fly and had wings and
They
and all
didn't
of a
come
sudden-
up with wings.
They did not come up with
Yeah.
any of that. And,
Birds
and there
were
have been
already-
people fighting. Fighting. I didn't mean bad whatever.
Hey, watch
there
out.
have been people
Can you
working to
beep that out?
Yeah.
There have been people working to learn to fly for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Leonardo da Vinci had a flying machine, right? So
Icarus.
that comment is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not thinking. The point is that I go to Europe, I go to see these things, and I get inspired. We copy the things that inspire us,
Yeah.
right? We dress because we saw, someone that really looked cool in jeans, and I'm like, well, I want to wear jeans,
Yeah.
right?
The Lone Ranger.
Whatever it is,
Looks great.
So anyway, it's stupid comment. He's not really thinking.
All right, in your face, stupid comment. All right, next one. Love the house, love the materials used and the layout, but I can't stand the fake addition the fake addition things and the fake filled in window. It is a new house, looks dumb. And someone agreed and said, yeah, that's a little overboard for me. I'd prefer a more traditional approach and using reclaimed materials for the trim and styling, but the house is all modern technology behind the sheetrock and paneling.
So it sounds like you would build your house different.
So
Sounds like this style's
yeah.
not for you.
Amen.
Yeah.
Next question. No, here's what you're trying to do when you're doing.
Here's what y'all were trying to do when you were doing.
Here's what we were thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
is that
So just to put this further into context as you formulate your answer, this other person commented as well and said, I get doing this for Hollywood, but I don't get doing this to live in today. The old homes were not that great. Trust me, I've been in many.
that could be the dumbest thing anybody's ever said.
And he's out. He's had it.
You made him walk out of the studio with that one.
So here's the answer on kind of
All three of those?
the addition, the fill in, and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
can't stand the fake addition, can't stand the fake filled in window, and it's all modern technology behind the sheetrock and paneling.
I mean, really, the inspiration for me, okay, is going to some of my favorite houses, going to some of my favorite places to visit, and the wonder and charm of those historic houses that grew over time, that were one thing, and then they had an addition, and you're like, oh, this is really cool. So
Monticello.
the inspiration, right, is inspiration, right? And so I'm looking at those things and I'm trying to copy the past.
Yeah.
Again, that's what my career is looking at the past. Now, the additions, and I don't know whether he's talking about the additions, the story, like the kitchen, or what additions like these appendages and
It's
things
talking
like
about
that.
the fake addition. So it's like you've got the old historic home and the old historic barn, and then you've got the fake addition that was addition in between
the
them.
part,
Wait. The word "fake" though, I don't really. To
they-
me, I don't like. That's a bad word.
Their problem with the fake.
is that their word or
No,
or
it's their
Jackson's
word. Their word. Their problem. I can't stand the fake things. Their problem is that it didn't naturally evolve over time. So over time, this house did not start as two separate homes that were then filled in by this middle
Is
addition.
that what you mean by fake? The thing that bothers you?
No,
what this
that's what
comment-
he's saying.
I'm reading the
No, what
comment.
I'm saying is I don't like the word "fake." Them using the word "fake,"
Right.
Because what's not fake then? Anything you build today that's it's all fake.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I mean,
and
if you build a colonial revival house, it's fake.
that's
It's not
fake.
really colonial revival.
yeah.
because
If
if you
you
built
build
in a
it-
different period
yeah,
of
if you
time
built
than
an
is-
English house today, is that fake because it's not English?
Yeah,
Well,
and I don't
so,
like that.
So
Like,
their problem is this is not an architectural style per se to have this is never. There's no historic precedent behind building a house that exists as two original things and an add-on that were all built at the same time. That's their argument.
That's
Does that
not
make
true.
sense?
I think they're missing the point though.
Yeah, that's not a true statement.
I agree with you guys.
I know you do.
That's what they're saying.
I let me go to that infill window. I don't
Yeah.
think the execution of that infill window was very good.
Okay.
Okay. I you can see the outline of it. I don't think the way they did the stone and stuff is especially interesting.
They should have used different stone.
The other way we could have done that was actually take some shutters and close them over a false window there, so that it read differently. But there aren't shutters on the house, so it would have been a little bit weird. But there's other ways to execute that third window there that I think are may have been better, right?
I was talking to Richard about this. The idea behind keeping the third window, correct me if I'm wrong, but is to keep the symmetry of the house, correct?
Yeah, and
Even though that's a closet or a bathroom or whatever.
And it's meant to communicate that, it was originally, X, and then as bathrooms and closets became more popular, it got closed in. And so, over time that changed.
Right.
And so,
but that is inherently this person's problem with that.
And all I'm conceding on this is that the execution of that fill-in could have been executed a little bit differently, but I hold on to the fakery and just say, sorry, if you go, study history, if you go look at great historic places, they're filled with things like this.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at to inspire and to raise the bar about. I don't care whether you think it's fake or not.
It's like all the porches that have like the entablature. That's all based off a Greek temple. Are you walking into a Greek temple? Oh, it's fake. No, it's inspired. Mm-hmm. The word you're looking for is inspired.
Right. So, that's a great comparison because, and we don't have to chase this, but the reason why modernism became, so popular was because they felt like the classically styled buildings of the turn of the century in the 1900s, 1920s were fake. I mean, that was the word they used, that this is a fake skin that we put onto things. Our houses should and our buildings should reflect our time, right? And so you think about the sleek, modern things that came out, new materials, different things that they were building with. Is that what that person's talking about? Because that would be a new style that you could come up with. But anyway, next comment.
Yeah. Next comment. Sorry, I need to go up. There again, another fighting one, but here's the next one, and again, this is on the fake topic, and I think a lot of people have taken issue with the fakeness of it because you have taken a utilitarian change for an aesthetic change. Does this make sense? So no. Utilitarian wise, as closets become more popular and as bathrooms become more popular inside, you would utilitarianly lose a window, right? Out of utility. And so you would need to fill that in. Now, you have chosen to do that as an aesthetic choice, not as a utilitarian choice. So it feels fake to people in the same way this comment, I don't know if I love, because obviously it's amazing, or if it makes me sad and reminds me of the fake V8 sounds from electric cars.
The fake V8 sounds.
So a lot of electric cars make like a V8 engine sound.
Do they really?
Yeah, they've got a horn inside of it, so it sounds like which utilitarian-wise, a car just has to have exhaust and has to make sound. But when it goes electric, it doesn't. Does that make sense? Well, so I think that's where their issue is.
The analogy. I don't understand the question necessarily.
Okay. Should we move on?
Yeah, I mean,
I guess
this all wraps around that same thing. What's fake? What and it's just anyway.
It basically. So just to sum up, so the person doesn't feel like you're just ignoring their question and haha, I won, stumped them or whatever. I think your response is you clearly don't like this style, and you don't want a house that tells a story, and so you would want to move on. Is that pretty fair to say?
That's what my thoughts are. Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just didn't have that.
Yeah.
Okay. This comment said, and there's a couple comments relating to the money of the whole thing. And I know we've addressed it a little bit, but I think this comment was really funny, so I wanted to read it. How to build a house at twice the price you could sell it for.
Well, my thing on that, at the end of the day, personal experience, I'm putting a lot of money into my house that I'll never get back. Yeah. Why? Because I don't look at life like I'm an accountant. I look at life like, this is cool.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at my house on a spreadsheet. Oh, am I going to sell this? Is this a good investment choice? No, I'm looking at it like I want to see beautiful things. So
and 100%. And that line of thinking is all about the price per square foot that screws up our market and screws up houses and makes things ugly because everybody's like, well, you can only get 125 a square foot and that's all you're ever going to get. And well, I want to buy it for 150. Well, you got ripped off. Right? And I bought it for 110 a square foot. Well, you got a great deal.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with quality, construction. It's a games. a Walmart, 99 cents blue plate special kind of attitude that is about price. Okay.
Yeah.
And so to Richard's point, most of our clients, okay, recognize that they're not going to get the money out of their house.
Right.
But when they have that kind of money, okay, what else do they spend it on? Right? What are they supposed to spend it on? And don't say give it away. They give plenty of money away, right? It is, what is going to bring you joy? What are things that's truly satisfy? Certainly having a home where your children can come, you can have great Christmases and grandkids can run around, brings a lot of joy, right?
Absolutely.
And that's
priceless.
That is priceless.
Yeah.
And so that is a snarky,
That's why I thought it was funny.
annoying,
It
kind of jealous.
Yeah.
That why? How could someone spend that much? I don't have that money. I can't spend that. Come on,
Sounds like he's
Well,
real fun at
I think
parties.
I think the other thing that I think is missed in a lot of the price point conversations is it's missed as an art form. A lot of people who have homes look at them very utilitarianistically.
Most people do.
Because it serves a very important function of shelter. But whenever you are able to invest,
And you can sell it for more later, right? And it works as an investment.
It works as an investment, and it works as a function. So there's so much utility to a house that we don't inherently think of them as an art form.
Well, but
which
it
is all that you guys do.
I don't think this necessarily is an art form. I think that
You would be wrong.
My goal to these people would be to say, look, just realize. Let me just expand your airspace. Let me just expand your perspective on things.
Coming off really humble.
And just say, right? Just look. Oh, realize that people spend money on their houses in this other way, and you don't, but other people do, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks like that's a forever home.
It is a forever
That's
home.
what I'm saying.
It
It's
looks
like
like a forever
if
home.
you're
Yeah.
if you got a starter house, which is nothing wrong with. I started starter house. Then I could see that perspective a little bit. Like, well, I don't want to put 100-year windows in this DR Horton. That makes sense.
And totally. The other thing is that if you look at the DR Horton cookie cutter world, those houses.
Sorry, we use that term a lot. We explain it.
The production builder, cookie cutter house that all look the same. You drive into those neighborhoods, all the houses look the same. That's a very safe investment in some respects, because I know my house will, I know what it's worth because they sold their house and my house is basically the exact same house.
Right.
This is a risk.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you are going very specific with the style, with an age, with a story and everything else. And so there is more risk there, right?
Yeah. But to your point,
and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but we get so caught up in that, it has to be worth this because
right.
There's another side of this thing.
Yeah,
that
to
people
your
aren't-
point, the risk is not the point of this house.
Totally.
The investment is not the point of this house. The point of this house is to have a really cool home. And that's why telling a story, a lot of people missed the idea of like, why would you want to tell a story in your house? And I think that this is art, right? That I'm shocked that you're not saying that this is art, but this is telling a story by what it is, right? Like there is something very clear that it's the same way that a painting tells a story, or a book tells a story, or music tells a story. That's what art does, is it speaks to you on another level. And that's exactly what this house is doing, is it's speaking to you on another level.
I think that too, it expresses the values and the things that these people care about. She collected antiques for years.
Yeah.
She loves the historic lighting. It reminds her of the place that she used to grow up. So all of a sudden, this house is built this way is going to be a great backdrop for her antiques. And so it isn't just this house.
Yeah.
It is all of the things that weave together to make it very important to them
and personal. So another one. This is so wonderful. By comparison, HGTV dream homes, air quotes, are tacky, trying to show off how much visual clutter the designer can put in one place. Essentially unlivable. What are your thoughts on that?
Is she
I hadn't
saying
seen that show.
That
It's positive.
It's positive.
Yeah.
He's saying that
He's saying,
HGTV
sorry,
show.
I didn't clarify. I'm reading all the negative comments. This is a good comment. This is a comment saying that this is a
I'm
good.
like, wait, is that bad? It sounded like
No,
a good
it-
comment.
I haven't seen that show, but
It's well, I don't think it's referencing a show. I think it's actually just saying like
Oh,
dream
channel,
homes that
channel.
you see
I
on
thought that was an actual
HGTV.
show.
Yeah, they're saying that they are tacky by comparison, trying to show up how much visual clutter a designer can put in one place.
Well, I mean, it goes
But
to
you've kind of done-
Richard's, comment about the accent wall, right? Is that HGTV? That's where the accent wall was invented, right?
Yeah.
That you have a boring house, and look, we could do something
Yeah.
special here, and they do get cluttered. They do
Yeah.
end up being cheap, and it is different.
Now, Mr. Anomaly, you were talking about the build show earlier. You were talking about how it's a lot more build science focused. I think this comment relates to build science, which
Okay.
is something we dabbled in before that I think is really interesting. But it says, not much detail about how it was built. It seems like it just focuses on finishes, trim, and furniture. Any technical details we should learn? What's the blower door score?
So
What's a blower door score?
So
Is that like you-
yeah, so just but when you build a new house today, it
Yeah.
has to have it has to meet an energy number. It has to have a pass an energy test, and part of the energy is a blower door test. Okay, and a blower door is basically, we've actually got one. Is a, as its name sounds, it's a door. It goes in the door open, usually the front door,
Yeah.
and there's a fan on it.
Okay.
And the fan, and there's a
Gauge or meter?
gauge or something that's measuring resistance.
Okay.
And so you turn the fan on, and it tells you how many air cycles will go through the house in an hour.
Okay.
And so, 3 is the code, and this house did pass a 3. And so it did get to that number.
Yeah.
But like my house would probably be like an 8 because it's not very energy efficient.
Yeah.
To that guy's comment,
But
that-
your house is not a historic build, like custom built home by you. It's just a
it's a production house built in the
house,
60s.
yeah.
So to this guy's, the way I'd respond is, you're right. This is the introduction. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the introduction about what new house, old soul means. We are going to go into foundation, going to go into framing, going to go into, all these different things. So he'll get that.
So,
but
yeah.
it's just not in this episode.
one thing that I think is really fun, and I could not find the one, but Richard, we were referencing it earlier. Someone had suggested that there was a better name for the show. And do you remember what it was?
I forgot. You can't find it?
I will look for it, but essentially someone was suggesting a different name.
We gotta find it.
rather than New House Old Soul. I'll keep searching for. Oh, here it is. I'd call it New Build Old Home. I've acquired /built/owned 11 homes over 27 years. Some were historic in nature and design, as well as modern industrial design. Can never stop learning. Which, great in sentiment, but I do think the name of this show really captures, in essence, what we're talking about. And a lot of people are missing the point from the beginning, right?
I love the name.
Because
Yeah.
New House, Old Soul, right? We've got a new house that is built with the characteristics of the past, right? Which is your whole deal. So,
I mean, it's just,
but I think that's important because that immediately addresses so many of the problems that people have with this build.
Oh, yeah,
Why are we building this
exactly.
to tell a story?
because it
Well,
has an old
because
soul.
it's being built as if it's an old home, and that's a cool thing, and that's a character piece of it.
what
Why
was,
does it
what
cost
was-
so much
what was
money?
his name?
New
what
home,
was-
old build, or what is it?
New build, old
Build,
home.
old-
Which
It's just another way of saying.
it's another way of
it.
saying the same
Sweet.
thing, but I do think there's so much value in what y'all are doing.
I like the word soul though.
Yeah.
Because that's like it's alive. That's what I
Yeah,
feel
I like that too.
On top of all of these comments, the negative ones, those were just a couple of them that we read out, and really there were not a ton. But now here we are at the positive sides of the comments. So proud to be a series sponsor. Go get them. Super stoked for this series. Blending modern materials with build practices with the warmth and character of a bygone era is brilliant. Incredible craftsmanship. Great production too. This is what the building. Yeah. This is what building and the art of carpentry is about. It is exciting to see that this art is not forgotten and it's coming back. Love the idea of traditional architecture, which fits in the area that you're building in and its history. I'd be more interested in doing it for the purpose of creating a performant, comfortable, beautiful house, which it sounds like these were all those things. This guy's been living in this house for 4 or 5 years and loves it. So check. That makes sense for where it is. I don't like how they've artificially told a fake story. Not everyone can find a property that has something and everything. But I would love it that we don't have to all live in crappy KB home subdivisions. Please, Lord, in that crap. I'm excited to see more of this. I've been getting interested in this exact kind of stuff lately, so I'm very happy to see the Build Show doing it. Whoop. Nice. That was just a couple of the fun replies. A lot of great ones. And I think my biggest takeaways that people had against this were threefold, right? People really didn't understand why this house was telling a story. A lot of people really got it and really jumped on that immediately. But then the few detractors did not understand why it was telling a story. But I think that just tells me that they don't understand that this is art.
These people are offended by the F word too. The fight.
Fight, yeah. That was the second takeaway. That was probably the most common thing, and I think.
Well, I guess when I take it from the perspective that they thought I was fighting the client for it, I can see why that might have made them go,
yeah.
Wait, what's he doing? Well, and so you're right. That is kind of confusing.
I would also say off industry, it is confusing to understand. Like if I'm not in the building industry and I just hear someone built this home, I'm like, wow, really cool. The person designed it, then the architect went out and built and like contracted people to build it, and then it got built. Where's the fight happening? You know what I mean? So I think
I think that 95%, maybe 98% of houses are not built this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I think it goes to show, based off of the comments, a lot of people get it, right?
And I guess what I would ask of those people, the detractors out there, who I guess I would just say, just instead of getting angry and typing out the stupid comments and stuff,
type whatever you want. It's great.
It's just, oh wait, maybe I can learn something from here. Maybe there's something here that I'm not doing currently in my business. I mean, for me I remember when I figured out that money wasn't the problem or wasn't the hurdle for these clients that we were working on. It was a mind-blowing experience where you're just like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, my paradigm completely changed. And so it changed how we build, how we approach jobs, how we do things. And so I would just say to those people, there's something you can actually learn here. There's something that can actually help you improve as a builder and as a craftsman, is if you understood this truth.
Yeah.
That could change your business, and be open to that. Don't be, Downy Debbie.
Whatever. And what if they don't have a business? Would you just still say, don't be an idiot?
Yeah. Quit watching. No.
Stop watching. And those were the two big takeaways. The last one was money, right? Everyone was like, and not everyone. It was a very small minority of people. Overwhelmingly positive. One guy, combined the money and fight thing. He said, if I had $5 for every time he said fight, maybe I could afford this home. Jokes aside, the result is incredible. And so, really fun. Nice. I think a great home. What are y'all's closing thoughts here?
Well, I'm excited to share the rest of this series. What have we done? 5 or 8, 6? Probably more than 5. Yeah, 6 or 7.
Well, there's going to be 14 total.
So we've done some other ones that really get into the history. You'll hear a lot more about history of things, and so actually, I'm hopeful that people will stick with us because it's actually really exciting.
Cool. What about you?
Well, I just love seeing the opportunity that's out there as a craftsman, realizing, like what you just said, if people's hurdle is not money, that means I'm going to get to do some cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's really cool, rather than just being with this defeated attitude, like nobody does that. Yeah. Like, well, a lot of people don't do that, but there's some that do, and it's awesome,
Also, it's kind of cool just knowing, like, hey, you don't have to be limited by the fact that you haven't done something before. but instead you can use it as an opportunity to grow. Because I mean, that was my biggest takeaway, just hearing from you guys, like, or you just sharing like, no, you can do that, and then just have to go figure it out. And then you saying like, no, I'd never done one of those things before and had to do like an angular sweep, and
Yeah.
that's so cool, right? Like, what an awesome opportunity to get to grow as a builder, but then also be a part of something different and better. I'm ADHD out the wazoo, so I get bored with something if it's too repetitive.
Yeah.
But just to be able to expand and grow and shape and shift and become better, what a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Good stuff.
well, cool. Thank you guys for watching. See ya.